The Amityville Horror, a home consumed by shadow. Some stories chill us to the bone not just because they're well told, but because they carry the unsettling weight of truth. The most terrifying tales aren't born from imagination alone, they're echoes of someone's living nightmare. For two families in a seemingly idyllic home in Amityville, New York, a dream would swiftly descend into a haunting reality, the shadow of the past, the DeFeo murders. It was the autumn of 1974. A family of 7 was about to be brutally reduced to one lone survivor, the one wielding the rifle. Before that fateful night, the DeFeo household was already a cauldron of tension. Rumors painted Ronald Sr. as a hostile, abusive, and utterly dominant figure. This toxic environment is believed to have twisted Ronald Jr., known as Butch, into a deeply troubled young man. Butch, employed at the family's auto body shop, often chose the numbing embrace of bars over honest work. Addiction to drugs and alcohol fueled his volatile nature, leading to shocking outbursts. There were reports of him pulling a gun on his own father, and other instances where his rage manifested in physical violence against his family. Then, in the pre-dawn hours of November 13, 1974, something inside Ronald Butch DeFeo Jr. snapped irrevocably. Rifle in hand, Butch moved silently, methodically, from room to room, extinguishing the lives of his sleeping family members one by one. But the horror of this act was compounded by disturbing anomalies. Despite the estimated 15-minute rampage, the bodies bore no signs of struggle. Even more unnerving, the gunshots themselves, fired without a silencer, seemingly failed to rouse anyone else in the house, or even their neighbors. The victims were all found face down in their beds, as if meticulously positioned. Aside from the distant, muffled barking of the family dog, not a single shot was reported by those living nearby. After committing this unspeakable act, Butch calmly took a bath, dressed for work, and then, with chilling composure, reported the murders himself. He fabricated a tale of returning home to discover the gruesome scene, even spinning a complex narrative about a mafia hitman and accomplices forcing him to kill his own kin. But his flimsy alibi crumbled under scrutiny. DeFeo eventually broke, confessing to the cold-blooded murders and leading police to where he discarded the rifle and blood-stained clothes. His chilling admission: "Once I started, I just couldn't stop. It went so fast." DeFeo later claimed he'd been hearing voices, compelled by unseen forces. Yet, prosecutors dismissed this, with a psychiatrist diagnosing him with antisocial personality disorder, a mind unburdened by the concept of right or wrong when it came to extinguishing his family. He was convicted on 6 counts of murder and sentenced to 6 consecutive life terms, a sentence he continues to serve. Still, whisperings persist of a second, unseen killer whose presence on that night remains an unsolved mystery. A new chapter, an ancient fear, the Lutz family. Just over a year after the massacre, the notorious DeFeo residence on Ocean Avenue presented itself as a dream home to a new family, the Lutzes. With such a gruesome history clinging to its very walls, one can't help but feel a lingering, oppressive energy on the property. For the Lutzes, this wasn't mere speculation. Their alleged not-so-housewarming stories would soon become a chilling public phenomenon. George and Kathy Lutz, weary from their house hunt, stumbled upon the listing for what they didn't yet realize was the infamous DeFeo home. Drawn by an inexplicable pull, they found themselves mesmerized by the attractive, Six-bedroom colonial with its distinctive hip roof, heated pool, and a sprawling boathouse on the Amityville River. Even after being told of the house's bloody past, the Lutzes were inexplicably smitten. They purchased it for a mere $80,000, never once entertaining the idea that its horrific history made it uninhabitable. As George Lutz reportedly mused, houses don't have memories. But their dream home would quickly morph into a waking nightmare. The events that unfolded over their brief, harrowing stay would become immortalized in Jay Anson's infamous book, The Amityville Horror. The Descent into Madness, the Lutz's Torment. Before moving in, George Lutz was a vibrant businessman. But the moment they crossed the threshold, his personality began a chilling metamorphosis. He became sluggish, perpetually cold, and irritable. Every night, precisely at 3:15 a.m., George would awaken, unable to return to sleep. The very hour the DeFeo murders had occurred. One terrifying night, George saw his 5-year-old daughter, Missy, standing by her window. Behind her, silhouetted against the pane, was the outline of a pig's face with glowing red eyes. He rushed into her room, only to find her peacefully asleep. Soon after, Missy began speaking of her new imaginary friend, a pig named Jody. The strange occurrences escalated. Doors ripped from their hinges, a room inexplicably swarming with flies in the dead of winter, bizarre cloven hoof prints appearing in the snow outside, and grotesque green slime oozing down the walls. Then came the chilling discovery in the basement, a secret room, absent from the original blueprints. This hidden chamber was painted entirely blood red, just large enough for 2 people to sit uncomfortably close. It emitted an intermittent, foul odor. George even tried to take their family dog into the room, but the animal recoiled, cowering in fear, a reaction he'd never witnessed before. One night, George heard the distinct sound of a band playing downstairs. When he investigated, the living room was empty, but the rug was rolled up and the furniture rearranged, as if someone had cleared the space for a macabre dance. The priest they enlisted for help also suffered strange phenomena and illness after becoming involved with the house. Jay Anson, the author of The Amityville Horror, stated that the priest's corroborating testimony solidified his decision to write the book. This was actually happening to someone, Anson noted. This was not an exorcist or an omen. From there, I started to create the book. The Legacy of Terror, Book, Films, and Lingering Doubts on January 14, 1976. After a mere 28 days, a terrifying night finally drove the Lutz family from their new home. They fled abruptly, leaving all their belongings behind, never to return. George Lutz recalled, "We didn't get up to leave that morning. When we left, we didn't know we weren't coming back." Their possessions were later auctioned off, a grim epilogue to their haunting experience. The Lutz's chilling accounts became the foundation for Anson's instant bestseller in 1977, hailed by the LA Times as fascinating and frightening. Some critics suggested its immense popularity reflected the tumultuous political and economic climate of the time, the family's struggles mirroring the anxieties of many Americans. The book also skillfully tapped into popular horror tropes of the era: a patriarch driven to madness, a reluctant priest drawn into supernatural conflict, and unexplained phenomena, all set in a seemingly innocent northeastern beach town. Curiously, when asked if he himself experienced anything strange while writing the book, Jay Anson firmly stated, "Leave it no." He attributed a post-writing heart attack to his idiot lifestyle, not the spectral subject matter. However,
he did report unsettling incidents befalling those who read early manuscripts or copies. 3 friends and one of their children had separate brushes with death, one of which was fatal. A car fire erupted as a friend drove with the manuscript. Another friend and his son nearly drowned with a copy in their trunk, yet the manuscript remained miraculously dry. Most horrifyingly, a third friend died in a fire the very night she received the first 2 chapters. The manuscript found perfectly intact amidst the ashes. The story's enduring terror led to numerous film adaptations, most notably the 1979 version starring James Brolin and the 2005 remake with Ryan Reynolds, both portraying George Lutz. While generally loyal to the setting and the grim DeFeo backstory, both films took liberties to heighten the fear, adding elements like a babysitter during the Lutz's outings, a detail absent from the book's account of the family attending a wedding together. The films also diverged in their portrayal of the murders and the hauntings' source. The 1979 film presented the house as the haunted vessel, while the 2005 version focused more on the lingering ghosts of the victims. Even the fate of the beleaguered priest differed wildly across the book and films, from flu-like symptoms to a supernatural attack leading to blindness. Yet, despite the widespread fame and sensationalized accounts, after the Lutz's departure, there have been no other widely known stories of hauntings at the Ocean Avenue house. The address was even changed at the request of a subsequent owner. Since 1974, 4 different families have owned the property, with the last sale in 2017. While debates about the truthfulness of the Lutz's experiences continue to this day, one chilling fact remains undeniable. A mass murder of an entire family tragically occurred on that property. The supernatural has a curious way of turning even the staunchest skeptics into believers. So whether it's an antique trinket, a forgotten piece of clothing, or an entire house, be warned. When you decide to acquire something with a history, you might just find yourself with far more than you ever bargained for.